Hello, lovely, and welcome to the Essence of Expression podcast. Get ready to explore insights, lessons, practices, and wisdom from life for life. I'm your host, Arejay, healer, teacher, student, and sage. I'm excited and honored to have you with me on this journey. Let's dive in. So, I have been having conversations around AI lately, and I wanted to bring them here because one of the things I'm seeing is I've actually been helping some people troubleshoot some things using AI. And as I'm having these conversations with people, I'm realizing that some of the ways that I'm using AI that are quite normal for me are new concepts to some people. And I think that they can help you. So one of the things, I was speaking to a woman and she was testing Canva code, and which is a new tool that they released, and it's AI based, but it helps code things, right? It literally creates the code for it. And she had tried to get the output to be the way she wanted it and like change the colors and change this, and she was fine tuning, and she was having some trouble because no matter what she did, it wasn't really like listening to her on this one little detail. So I had, she was like, I've tried everything. So I asked, I was like, hey, did you work with ChatGPT and tell it like you're working with Canva code? Here's what it's doing. Here's what I'm trying to get it to do. Like, what's the best instruction to give Canva code? And she hadn't, so she did. And it fixed the issue, right? Because sometimes tech will talk to tech better than we can. So I am no stranger to hopping on ChatGPT when I'm having like a problem with another, software or piece of technology and going, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I want it to do. Like, troubleshoot this, or what would you suggest I use as an input to get a better output? The next way I use AI, Otter.ai is another tool that I like to use, and it's a transcription tool. And what I use that for is, one, it actually does the transcription for my podcast episodes so that I don't have to worry about like going back and trying to do that. But I also like to use it like as a brain dump, which can be pretty good, especially for people who like to verbally process. So I'll just turn it on and I'll just talk, right? And part of why I like to do this is because it'll transcribe what I'm talking, but it'll also pull out like kind of key points and action items. So as like my brain is just turning through like the to-do list and having these weird ideas, right? Like I just talk it to Otter so that I can get it captured somewhere, and then from there like I can copy and pull it out of the transcript and everything and put it in its rightful place. But instead of dumping it out on paper and then needing to like go put it somewhere digital, like it's already digitized. I also will use AI to help me write code if I need to. So I'm not a big coder. Like I have some basic HTML and like I can read code better than I can try to actually write code. But sometimes, like I do have websites for the business. I do have a website for the podcast. And sometimes the drag and drop just isn't doing what I want it to do. And I need it to appear a certain way, right? So again, I'll usually use ChatGPT for this and like tell it what's going on and have it write the code, have it write that little snippet and then embed that. And I also do the same thing when I'm working with like Google Sheets or in Excel and I don't know the formula for something, like instead of looking it up, because sometimes I want it to do complex things and I know it's capable, I just don't know how to do it. So again, like I'll let ChatGPT know what I'm trying to do, what I want to accomplish, and then I'll have it write that formula. Now, sometimes when you're doing the code and when you're doing the formulas, yes, you will have to go back and forth a little bit, especially if you are not, like if you don't have that background to know the formulas and to know the code, you won't necessarily be able to spot what's wrong with it until you actually try it, and then just go ahead and give the feedback back to whatever AI you were using and say, hey, like it didn't quite do that, it made it do this. And it normally adjusts pretty well. I also use AI to help me see what I might be missing, especially when it comes to software. So one of my favorite things to do as of late is to look at the different software programs and things I have access to, and I'll ask ChatGPT, like, I'll tell it what I'm using it for, I'll tell it like the features that I do use and like the plan level that I have. And then I ask it, what are some features or use cases that you see based on what I do, right? And it'll normally tell me and it'll give me little features, and then I can go learn more about them, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. So sometimes I just ask it because I'm sure I'm not using all of my tech to like the maximum capacity that it can be used for, right? I also like to use it to sometimes like a software program comes out, and instead of paying 50 million subscriptions, right, take a minute to understand what the software does. Because sometimes you already have things that can be leveraged to recreate that. Now, granted, I will say, yes, if a software is created for a specific purpose, the chances are it's going to do it better, it's going to do it faster than having like multiple pieces of software to compile the same capability, right? However, sometimes that like subscription is just more than what you have right now, right? And you just need to get it done. So using AI to find out like what the tool does and how much of what this new tool does your existing like software, AI, whatever it is, how much of that capacity already exists in what you have, and what do you need to use and how do you need to use it to most closely approximate the new tool. Another thing that I like to do is, so especially with Otter.ai, so I am one of those people who my speaking voice and my writing voice are nowhere near the fucking same at all. Like, speaking, you know, I can be very straightforward, I can be blunt, it's just short and to the point, right? And when I write, for some reason, like I am normally like the person who waxes poetic and who becomes like a college professor with like a PhD in whatever. So the vocabulary changes, like the whole vibe changes, which depending upon what you're writing for can be a great thing. But when you're writing for things like, you know, emails to people, like for your mailing list, or you're writing for social, things like that, you don't really want that switch that can happen. Now, if you're not that person, like if you are that person that you write exactly how you speak, great, good for you. This tip is probably not going to help you out. But for those of you who writing in your mind is the more formal thing because that's how you were trained, and like, hey, we get longer words and we use a different sentence structure and things get way more complex, right? Again, I use Otter for this, but to help compose the email. And I'm not talking like, hey, I need to draft it because I don't know what I want to say. That's different. And that's something that I would probably use like ChatGPT or Claude or one of those for. But when it's like, hey, I know what I want to say, I'll just speak it out to Otter because it's easier for me to sound like I'm speaking to a human when I envision speaking to a human and just speak as opposed to trying to write. And then I just let it transcribe it. And then I'll copy that and paste it over into the email. So those are some of the main ways, like the most common, frequent ones. ChatGPT is probably the main AI that I use. But even just like creating your own custom GPTs is something that I find to be worthwhile because it speaks to my efficiency. Like I literally have efficiency encoded in my design. So if you follow human design at all, right, efficiency is one of my bigger gifts within like the human design system. So I like the custom GPTs. I love the projects. And so if you're not really sure like when you would use a project versus a custom GPT, so if you are going to be doing something repetitively, you create the custom GPT, right? Like figure out what those steps are that you want it to go through every single time and just go ahead and create the custom GPT so that it can run when you want to do this thing and you don't have to prompt it every time, right? Like you don't have to tell it what to do every time. That's going to be a custom GPT. For the projects, it's going to be more of the things that you want to keep together. So there are multiple steps in what you're doing and you want all the conversations to stay together. Then I would use a project, right? You can also, if you want ChatGPT to play a certain role all the time, right? Like you can also use a project to do that where maybe the process is not the same all the time, but I do want you to remember the role that you're in and I do want you to respond like this all the time. It's probably going to be a project. You can do it as a custom GPT too. But you may not need that level of depth. Also, with the custom GPT, you can also change whether or not, like you can kind of do it where you're creating a database, right? Because you can uncheck the search the web, and then you can just feed it all the information that you want it to have and all the information that you want it to pull from. And then when you're using that custom GPT, you know that it's only pulling from that information. It's not going out to the web and pulling in random shit that's may not be accurate or for whatever reason you don't want in there. So those are some of the main ways. I have it extract highlights from my podcast episodes. So like I have a workflow for that so that everything is really fairly seamless and as automated as possible for me, because I am the only one like doing the podcast, doing the editing, doing the social media, doing the business stuff. So just to make that easier. So I hope that helped. I hope it gave you some ideas. It also can make a really good brainstorming partner. There are so many different ways to brainstorm. If you have a favorite technique, you can actually again, create a custom GPT that only responds using like that particular technique that you want it to use and go through that, like have it take you through that. But yeah, those are some of the main ways. Those are some of the main conversations I've been having lately around AI. Thank you for your time and attention. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, please take a moment to share it with them. If you're interested in joining a community and diving further into these topics, please visit theessenceofexpression.com/community and request to join our community group. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.